Top of the morning, buongiorno, ciao tutti, and how the devil are you all doing this fine day? Hope you're all fit and well. Welcome back to the Breakfast Show, which has been off air for the past week, and I apologise for that. I'm just going to say a very quick good morning to Ed Butler, who's just popped up in the chat. Good morning, Ed. Thank you for joining us. Lots of other people in the chat, but he's just popped up. I kind of feel like I should apologise for my absence, but to be honest, I had such a good time in both Ireland and Italy. I don't really feel sorry at all, if I'm being completely honest. Neither of my trips came with much in the way of merch to give away. In fact, aside from a very nice scarf that I bought myself, I came back from Italy completely empty-handed. However, I do have a very smart, I don't know if you can see that, let me get the angle right. We have a very smart anniversary edition of a Combilift notebook and a pen that is going to be up for grabs. I'll tell you what, let me make it nice and easy for you. I'll tell you exactly how you go about winning that. You just type Combilift, Combilift, into the chat. Now, we've had a couple of comments come through. John Finley has just joined us. Morning, John. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Peter McKenna, our friend Sick Note. Morning, welcome back, pal. We've missed you. Thank you very much indeed. I've kind of missed you too, but, you know, being in Bergamo, kind of eases the pain, I've got to be honest with you. But yeah, don't forget, you can win that notebook. Give me the light right. Notebook and pen combo. All you have to do is type the word Combilift, Combilift, into the chat. Before we crack on, it is Monday, which means I have a new article to tell you about. It's called Out of Time, and it is all about how everything in demolition and construction operates to a clearly defined schedule. Everything that is, except accident investigations. I realise it's a drum that I beat on a fairly regular basis, but I'm still not happy about it. So please go and have a look at that. You will be able to see that. And if I can remember exactly where I've put it, I think I can put that in the chat right about now. There we are. It's called Out of Time, as I say. Getting some entries through for the competition already. We're up to four already, so that's a good start. But keep typing Combilift, Combilift, into the chat. We'll draw that at the end of the show. Now, just one other quick thing. If you do go and read my article, which is, as I say, called Out of Time, please hit the subscribe button. It does me a favour, but it also does you a favour because it means you get to see the latest columns and articles before everybody else. So, and it won't cost you a dime either. So, all good. Now, Graham Footy Williams said he wasn't going to be here this morning. Here he is. Good morning to you. And don't forget Combilift in the chat. Now, without further ado, and Ken Hatch is here as well. Morning, Ken. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, and apologies for the absence last week. Now, without further ado, let me roll the intro, post the question of the day, and get this comeback edition of the show on the road. Well, I have absolutely no idea how, but it is Monday, the 2nd of October. October, can you believe it? Welcome to the scintillating sideshow that is the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony, and it's going to be a packed one today. In today's show, we have an exclusive look at the latest and smallest addition to the Knox tilt rotator range from those fine folks at Kinshofer. The DD130 dozer from Develon gets its own video. It's short, but it's nice. We get a guided tour of the Bobcat E145 excavator. JCB unveils yet another custom livery, this time to keep onside with the Rozzers. And we have a bonus film featuring one of the most incredible pieces of kit you're likely to see, at least this week. And on top of all that, I've already mentioned it, Combilift. Combilift notebook and anniversary, 25th anniversary notebook and pen up for grabs. You just need to type the word Combilift into the chat. You can see across the bottom of the screen, it is already telling you how to spell it. And I can tell you we're already up to 8 entries. Well done, people. Thank you very much indeed. I'm going to say good morning to Leslie McGeechy, who's just joined us as well. Yeah, trying to keep on top of the chat. I will crack on in just a second, but one of the things that I thought about, I've spent quite a bit of time on planes and buses and stuff. Back in the day when I was working for a contract journal, back in the late 80s, I used to try to sneak by our sub-editors headlines or paragraph intros that featured obscure song lyrics. I'm going to start doing that again. I'm going to do it in this show. There's no prize up for grabs. I've done it. I promise you, I've not done it today. There will be no prize up for grabs, but I'm going to drop in the occasional song lyric into conversation just to see if anyone picks up on it. Just to amuse myself, really. Let's have a look. Graham Footy Williams, you need to take away the space in your entry for the competition, because that will stop you being entered. Now, let us peer back through the mist of time to see what was happening on this very day in history. On this day in 1836, and after 5 full years at sea, Charles Darwin returned to England aboard HMS Beagle. Imagine how much a cruise like that would cost you these days. In 1902, The Tale of Peter Rabbit by Beatrix Potter was published in London. In 1950, the first ever Charlie Brown cartoon was published in US newspapers. In 1957, The Bridge on the River Kwai was released. Everybody, please whistle along. You know the song. In 1977, Jubilee year, Silver Jubilee year, Niki Lauda was crowned Formula One world champion. And on this very day in 1995, Oasis burst onto the scene with the release of their second studio album, What's the Story? Morning Glory. I remember it well. It's still in my CD collection. A CD collection that I never play because who plays CDs these days? But it's still here. Now, before we get into the real meat of the show, let me quickly remind you of our question of the day. And it is like this. Yes, time to trawl back through the mist of time of your own personal life. Our question of the day, yet again, is provided by Mr. Gary Muirhead, professional Scotsman and unofficial steel wrist ambassador. And it's quite simply, what was your favourite TV show when you were a child? Mine would probably be Tom and Jerry or Scooby-Doo when I was younger, but it would be Tiswas on a Saturday morning when I was a bit older, and I could truly appreciate Sally James. If anybody remembers Sally James and the Boots, you'll know what I'm talking about. But what about you? Let us know in the chat. What was your favourite TV show as a child? And we'll come back to that at the end of the show. Cast your mind back a few weeks and you might recall that I was forced to skip a show on a Wednesday so that I could go and film a thing. Well, that thing we were filming was the latest and the smallest addition to the Kinshofer Knox range of tilt rotators, and I'm delighted that we can now bring you the world exclusive of that film. Now, it sits on my computer, so it means I've got to bring it up in a slightly complex way, but it'll be worth it. Here it comes any second.
I work for Kinshofer and I'm the Knox Regional Sales Manager. We're just launching the new TR-045, which is our new Knox for the 2-ton to 4.5-ton range. So this is the new smallest model, so it's our new baby Knox. So we had previously worked from about 5-ton to 25-ton range, with 25-ton being our largest one. The TR-045 is now the new smallest model. One of the major applications for tilt rotators is landscaping or working on golf courses, with the smaller excavators are being really popular in that industry. Obviously, the tilt rotator demand follows that as well. Adding to that versatility is your integrated gripper module. We offer that across our range, and when operators go for that, I mean, generally people go for us without it because they want the narrowness, but as soon as they get a gripper, they won't go without. It becomes their finger and their thumb in their cab, and that's taking a manual laborer off, but it's also keeping them in the cab. They can keep to their air conditioning, their heating, their nice stereo, and they're not having to go out in the elements because they've got all that versatility in the tilt rotator to do the job from within the excavator. Cylinderless design, I think that allows two major things, which is the narrowness of the build. Without the cylinders on either side, you can go a lot deeper into a trench without having to build it as wide, and that's saving a lot of costs in terms of wastage and backfilling. The other side of the cylinderless design is a lot less chance of accidental damage, so the tilt rotator is built for the hard working environment that it's being used for. We're working on about 400 mil without a gripper, so 390 to be exact. Without having those exposed parts, you can work right to the width of the NOx. So you're not having to give any safety space for the rams that you might sort of snag on a bit of mains or a root or anything like that. Without the cylinders on the NOx tilt rotator, you're not going to have that accidental damage, you're not going to have that downtime, and you're going to get a better return from your tilt rotator. And when we have service cases back, or we have people wanting to rejuvenate their tilt rotator, they're coming back with massive scrapes along the side because they've been used in that hard working environment, and the NOx is suited for it. It survives, and it comes back with 1,500 hours, 3,000 hours, ready for a reseal.
Now, I realise that we have a certain steel wrist superfan in our midst, but I have to say, having seen that NOx, the new NOx, the TRO45 in action, mightily impressed, I have to say. To me, that looks like the perfect tool for the owner-operator with a mini excavator. But what about you? You know the question that we always ask about this point. The NOx TRO45, is it hot or is it not? Please let us know in the chat. Just type hot or not. Love to hear from you. Now, Leslie McGeechy has already said some bit of kit. I'm going to register that one as a hot. I'm going to take that as hot. Now, we need one of these, I think.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
Yeah, another couple of people saying hot, so it looks like there's universal praise for the new NOx TRO45. Now, our next clip is actually in German. It does come with subtitles, although I'd imagine they'd be quite hard to read on a phone. However, the film is from Liebherr, and the visuals, well, they kind of speak for themselves, to be honest.
Die Firma Backes hat sich für Liebherr entschieden, da die Konfiguration für uns am besten zugesagt hat. Wir laden die Schlacke, transportieren sie zu unserer Produktionsanlage, lassen diese abkühlen und werten sie dann in einer Aufbereitungsanlage auf.
Die Maschine an sich ist ja funktioniert sehr schnell. Man kann damit auch sehr schnell die LKWs laden. Natürlich ist das immer ein bisschen materialabhängig. Also ich als Fahrer finde es natürlich gut von der Bedienung her, ist einfache Bedienung der Maschine. Natürlich hast du gute Sicherheitseinrichtungen wie die Feuerlöschanlage, Kameras, auch komfortable Kabine, einfache Steuerung, also leicht zu handhaben die Maschine.
Für Reinigungs- und Wartungsarbeiten kommt man auch überall dran und ja, es hilft uns halt im alltäglichen Arbeitsalltag viel.
Bei diesem Bagger wurde auch speziell die Leiter angefertigt, um auch den Fahrer rückentechnisch zu entlasten, was ich eine gute Investition finde. Im Vergleich zu dem Vorgängermodell braucht er ca. 5 bis 6 Liter in der Stunde weniger an Diesel.
Also der Service von Liebherr ist super und alles funktioniert reibungslos. Wir werden uns nochmal für Liebherr entscheiden, da die Maschinen sehr gut sind und auch der Service von Liebherr super ist.
Yeah, and people say that demolition is a demanding application for a machine. That liebherr must be virtually indestructible to withstand that. Now, let's have a spot of this before we move along. I'm just going to remind you very quickly, type Combilift. Oh, actually, I've lost the banner for some reason. What's going on there? Yeah, there you are. Type Combilift into the chat for your chance to win the 25th anniversary notebook and pen from the fine folks over in Ireland. I'll be featuring those later in the show. Type Combilift into the chat. I think we're already up to, we've got 9 entries. We'd like to make double figures if we possibly can. So if you haven't done so already, please type the word Combilift into the chat. Now, way back in March, seems like a lifetime ago, but way back in March, I was in Las Vegas for the ConExpo exhibition. During the show, Doosan officially changed its name to Develon, which kind of overshadowed the launch of an interesting new machine, the DD130 dozer. Now, having spoken to the Develon team during the show, it appears that there are no plans to bring the smaller DD100 to Europe. But the DD130 could just be headed our way. And ahead of that, the machine now has its very own brief but dedicated film. And this is what the DD130 looks like. Yeah, I only saw it static on the Develon stand, but the DD130 does look a capable little dozer. I certainly hope they one or two of them make the journey over to UK shores very, very soon. Now, this.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
In addition to being the world's foremost producer of compact equipment, Bobcat is no slouch in the video department either. In fact, the walk-around videos that they produce are among the best and the most informative in the business. I think you will all agree. Well, they have a new one, and this time it's the Bobcat E145 compact excavator. Not that compact by Bobcat standards, but it's the E145 that comes under the spotlight. Have a look at this.
Large excavators are ideal for roadway, bridge, commercial, and urban job sites. Let's take a closer look at the Bobcat E145 large excavator, specifically designed to tackle bigger projects. The E145 has 115 horsepower and can reach a maximum dig depth of 19.6 feet. Get the job done quickly and efficiently with class-leading hydraulics that deliver powerful arm and bucket forces, more slew torque, high lift capacity, and fast cycle times. Bobcat E145 excavators are designed to keep operators productive and comfortable, even when projects keep them working long hours. The standard heated air suspension seat automatically adjusts to an operator's weight. Operators can also make the following adjustments to optimize their comfort: control stand height, forward and backward adjustment for the control stand and seat cushion angle, back recline, lumbar support, and headrest adjustments. Generous floor space gives you plenty of foot and legroom to keep you working comfortably hour after hour. An easy-to-read 8-inch touch display provides the information you need to operate and troubleshoot effectively, including critical machine data, errors, and warnings. It also has Bluetooth connectivity. The display's automatic night view function provides optimal visibility in low-light conditions. The Jog Shuttle provides operators another navigation option for display panel functionality. The display also provides an aerial view of your environment around the excavator, thanks to the all-around view monitoring cameras, or AVM system. 4 cameras, strategically mounted on the Bobcat E145, combine to create a composite overhead view that you can monitor on the 8-inch touch display. You'll have better awareness of your machine's surroundings to improve operation and maneuverability. Operators can stay cool or warm with the premium heat and air conditioning system. Improved airflow maximizes air conditioning efficiency. It also enhances airflow to the windows for quick defrosting and continuously clears them while you work. High-capacity heating and cooling vents enable fast, easy airflow adjustments for maximum comfort in extreme temperatures. The Bobcat E145 is designed to stay up and running. Built with heavy-duty materials to reduce wear, it has components that are protected from damage and that require minimal or no maintenance. When it does come time for maintenance, easy-to-access centralized grease banks located on the base of the boom provide maximum serviceability efficiency. The E145's new counterweight design has a larger opening that greatly enhances ease of maintenance. Wide open access covers provide plenty of room to reach the top side of the engine, while a hinged belly pan allows access from the bottom. Steel side covers give you quick access to regular daily maintenance items for easy upkeep and more uptime. Self-diagnostics allow you to track machine performance in real time and access historical machine alerts via the bright, easy-to-read LCD display. Simple, easy maintenance allows operators to get on the job quicker, while display diagnostics and alerts help them stay focused on the job. Bobcat E145 excavators empower operators to take on heavy workloads and stay comfortable all day long. You can find more information about the E145 large excavator on bobcat.com or visit your local Bobcat dealer for a closer look at this machine.
Yeah, I've seen, for one reason or another, I've seen an awful lot of Bobcat mini excavators up close recently, and I have to say I'm more impressed with each new machine. E145. As Ed Butler said, I think it was Ed. Let's have a look. Was it Ed? Sure, he said something. There we are. Nice looking Bobcat, he says. Yeah, absolutely. Gary Muirhead has just questioned, is this not just a Doosan or a Develon 145 in white? Could well be. Not entirely sure on that. I'll ask somebody that knows. Ken Hatcher says, looks like a nice machine. And Peter McKenna says, that's the frame XCMG uses. Is it? Is it? Okay, I'll take your word for it, but thank you very much for that. Now, we want a bit of this.
If you would like to buy a limited edition Break Fast show sticker, head on over to buymeacoffee.com/demolition news /extras.
Now, we do actually have a bonus film for you today, which comes from my trip to Ireland at the beginning of last week. Kind of forgotten which country I'm in, to be honest. But before we get to that, JCB has produced yet another special livery machine. And this one, I think you'll find, is truly arresting.
Hello, my name's Georgina Williams and I work on the backhoe loader product team at JCB. Now I'm very lucky that I get to travel this country far and wide visiting backhoes in unique locations, and today is absolutely no exception because I have travelled up to the very north of Scotland to the famous John O'Groats to visit this very special backhoe.
We're roading this machine to the Orkney Show in Kirkwall to engage with locals around the matters of plant and fuel theft.
The theft of plant machinery and fuel, which we're focusing on today, is widespread across the country, and it does cross over into rural areas, in particular agricultural areas. So the JCB has literally been from down in the borders up as far as here is in Orkney, and it's gone far west and east, and it's still got more to go, with a good mix of agricultural shows because of the crossover, and also construction and plant shows as well.
Through a bit of a casual conversation last year, whereby we thought that dressing up a digger in a police livery would be a fun way to get engagement on plant and fuel theft. I thought there was no better machine to do that with than the iconic JCB backhoe. We approached JCB, and in conjunction with their dealer Scott JCB, we've managed to pull this together, and the machine behind me here is the result of it.
Partnership's very important because Police Scotland can't do this job on their own. Another key prevention measure is to be alert to suspicious activity, because the criminals that are targeting these areas do tend to do hostile reconnaissance, and it's important that people out there know that when these people are in, it's important to report them, and one of the mediums is through Construction Watch or Rural Watch, depending where you are, and also through Crime Stoppers.
I'm delighted with how this project's going so far and the engagement we've been getting from across industry and the wider public.
It does its job really well because it does bring attention and brings focus on what is a really important issue and raise awareness. And if we all work together to do it, we can reduce these crimes and hopefully stop them happening in the first place.
There is no better brand or product to be working with for this campaign.
The scenery here is absolutely stunning. This is just beautiful. What a place to live. I wouldn't mind working here every day.
Yeah, good to see Callum McIntosh on the screen there. Did a fantastic job during his reign as president of the SPOA, and looks like he's still doing it, to be perfectly honest with you. Lots of people in favour of that new machine. There you are, Jim Turner, great way to see the world in comfort and at the right speed, and a nice part of the world. I've only been to John O'Groats once. Oddly enough, that was linked to a JCB backhoe loader as well. We were driving, Hugh Edliana was driving the HE Services land shuttle back from John O'Groats all the way down to Lowndes End for 32 and a quarter hours. And I was leading the way. Anyone that knows my sense of direction will know that was a ridiculous idea. There's Ken Hatcher saying, what is Ken Hatcher saying? I was talking to Georgina last week up at their factory. She's a nice girl. Absolutely. Andy Darvell says at least they can push the protesters off the roads that have glued themselves down with that 3CX. Absolutely. Mick Norton's just showing this morning, Mick. We are getting very close to the end of the prize draw. How many are we up to now? We're up to 12. So if you haven't already done so, type the word Combilift, Combilift, into the chat, and we'll come back to that. Now, I did promise you a bonus film, and a bonus film you shall have. As you may recall, I was in Ireland with the fine folks at lift truck manufacturer Combilift just last week, and they're celebrating their 25th anniversary. Now, wandering around the company's very impressive factory, and it really is a very impressive factory, we came across a new machine that has been developed in conjunction with wind turbine pioneer Siemens Gamesa. I'd never heard of the Gamesa bit either. Working in conjunction, these machines are capable of transporting wind turbine blades of more than 100 meters in length. I'll tell you a bit more about them in just a second, but let me just quickly remind you of our prize draw. It is Combilift linked. It is a 25th anniversary notebook and pen on offer from the fine folks at Combilift, Combilift, into the chat. If you haven't done so already, you need to get typing basically, because this final video is about just under a minute long. So you've got roughly 1 minute, maybe a minute and a half to type the word Combilift into the chat for your chance to be in with a shout. I think somebody has just entered. Yeah, we're up to 13 entries, which is going to be unlucky for some. And there's Callum McIntosh. I see. You say his name and he just appears out of nowhere. Video turned out well. Thanks so much, Mark. And yes, you're not far off with your comment. Thank you very much indeed. Tom Whiting says, good morning. Good to have a chat with Georgina at the weekend. Fantastic stuff. I'm assuming this is something to do with the UK plant operators thing. And just on the subject of the UK plant operators thing, bearing in mind the debacle over the Scottish leg and Callum McIntosh and the SPOA having to come to the rescue, wasn't it just lovely that a Scottish entrant actually won the whole thing? Or is that just me? Maybe just me. Now, I did promise you this bonus film. Here it is. Yeah, as you saw, those machines actually work as a pair in tandem and via remote control. Each of them has its own dedicated operator, but the machines themselves are wirelessly linked. So if one operator sees an issue or a problem, he or she can override the other machine to temporarily take control of both units. I spoke to one of the guys from Siemens Gamesa, and he said that 10 years ago, when he first started in the business, a big wind turbine blade measured about 60 meters in length. Today, blades have surpassed the 100, 110, 115 meter mark, and there are plans for blades of more than 140 meters in length as wind turbines operators look to get the biggest bang for their buck. Now, I didn't go to Ireland purely for those machines. In fact, I didn't go for lift trucks at all. I actually went to learn more about electrification from an industry sector that has been there, done that, and has got the T-shirt. The result was not what I expected at all. And you can read all about that in the article that I've just posted over in the chat. It is on our new website, Electric Earth Moving Equipment, and the article itself is called Selective Electrification. You can read that over, as I say, have a look on the chat. You can see the link there. Leslie McGeehee has just said, game changer for storing them dockside. Absolutely, absolutely. But again, imagine the size of the storage bays that you would need for those, particularly if you're keeping them indoors. 100, 115, 100, and well, ultimately 140 meters in length, and maybe probably even go bigger than that. Now, we were speaking of Combilift. It is time to draw the prize. That is what is up for grabs. Let me add that to the. Let me get the right view. I think it's that one. Yeah, there we are. Now, how many entries did we end up with? I can't see it from that screen. 13 entries. So I think we've got. Let's do a quick 5-second countdown. If you haven't done so already, type Combilift, Combilift into the chat. I'm just going to take the banner off the screen because in a second that won't count for anything anymore. Combilift into the chat. Gone. Let's hit the button and see who has won the notebook. That's the wrong button. I want this one. Graham Footy Williams, who actually has probably already left, but he has got himself a notebook. Perfect prize for somebody that is severely dyslexic. Hey, listen, he entered. What can I do? He won. That's the way it is. Now we need to enough of the good-hearted cheer. Let's go a bit serious for a second. My gripe today is really rather simple. Why is it that the UK is so crap? Now, don't get me wrong, I am as patriotic as the next guy, but having travelled a lot this year, I now return to the UK with a heavy heart. I had 2 days in Ireland last week, green pastures, gorgeous countryside, roads that weren't clogged with traffic, an airport that wasn't filled beyond capacity, a passport control system that worked, and lovely people. Then I was in Italy, where the sun shone, where the people are all gorgeous, where the food is to die for, where you could eat like a king for under a tenner. And then I came home. I came home to traffic jams, to knife crime, to sweary people at the airport, and a broken passport check. Our politicians flip-flop in the hope of picking up 1 or 2 votes while causing uncertainty throughout the country. Our football fans remain a shameful disgrace. Food costs a fortune, and it is generally rubbish. The weather is god-awful, and pretty much everything else is broken. The worrying thing for me is that as it stands right now, I have no more overseas trips planned for this year. On the upside, that means no more interruptions to this show. But on the downside, it means that I have to put up with all that Old Blighty now stands for from now until at least Christmas. God help me and God help us all. Anyway, that's my gripe of the day. I'd love to hear yours. What is it that grinds your gears, gets your goat, and generally butters your parsnips? The daily gripe therapy session will return henceforth and forthwith. and other legal type words. That pretty much wraps the main part of this morning's show. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like over into the chat to see what you're all saying today. If you can't stick around for that, then please stay safe. Look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. But if you do have the time and the inclination, please stick around, because the Craic will that was a combination of commence and begin. Come in. It commence immediately after this final word from our key show sponsor. Good morning, all. How are we? I've got some music playing in the background now. I'm going to go back to the beginning, but just thought I'd throw that up there. The UK has been ranked the 13th best place to live in the world, one behind the Seychelles, according to new research. I get the feeling the research was probably done by the British Tourist Board. I could name 50 countries that I'd rather live in than the UK, but that's just me. Let me go back to the very beginning. I think Jim Turner was the first off the mark this morning. Good morning, Jim. There he was. Morning, he says. Good to be back. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Who was the second off the mark? Gary Muir. Thank you very much indeed for your question of the day, Gary. Most welcome. We'll come back to the outcome from that. Good morning, Mark. Good morning, gang, and welcome back, Mark. Yeah. Well, aside from my gripes about the UK and all its shortcomings, I'm quite pleased to be back. Would I rather be in Bergamo right now? Yeah, I absolutely would. It's lovely. It really is lovely. It's about an hour's drive from Milan. Milan's lovely. I mean, we were in Milan. We're actually working in Milan, but we stayed in Bergamo. But Bergamo itself, it's like tourists haven't yet discovered it. So lots of places to eat. You can get a table when you feel like it. A trip up the funicular railway, up one, over and up another one, right to the very top of the old town or the old city. Absolutely fantastic. Food's incredible. And the company, I have to say, the company is fantastic. I was there with Despate again, the company that have the jumbo machine that we featured a while back. This time we were there to see their top-down way, which is a kind of a cocoon system for demolishing tower blocks of 90 metres or above. Yeah, we were stood, 50, 60 metres above the streets of Milan. And we weren't even on the building. The cocoon, if you imagine the microphone is the building, the cocoon sits like that, and we were stood on that bit. So we were actually off the side and above the building as it was being demolished. Safe as houses. We didn't fall down, which is part of the idea. Debris didn't fall down, which is the main idea. Fantastic. I'll be featuring that at some point in the future. Now, Chris Ford says, good morning, Mark, and the tribe. It's interesting, actually. I listened to a podcast about social media and YouTube and Instagram and all those things, and it's actually called Build Your Tribe. That's what we're here to do, build our tribe. So interesting that you should use the word tribe, Chris. Well done. It's almost as if you could read my mind. It wouldn't take long. There's not much in it. Glenn Johnston's in the house. Morning, Glenn. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. I think he was one of our entrants as well, and it was very timely, I thought. I'm just going to say that one from Glenn. Good to have you back. Good to be back. Thank you very much indeed. Ed Butler, Ed pops in and out. He's a busy guy, but he was here today, and just coincidentally, the Kinshofer film, the Knox TR-045 film, while we were filming that, Ed turned up. Completely at random, turned up. It was chucking it down with rain. We all got thoroughly soaked, which you may have seen from Adam Haycock's trousers while you're watching that film. But yeah, great fun was had by, and I have to say, listen, I'm not being paid to say so, but the TR-045 does look the bee's knees. I've just seen this. That is my badge. I don't know if you can see that. That's my badge from Combilift, but it was waving around in the dark. It was quite distracting, or in the background rather. John Finley is here as well. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, good morning to you as well, John. Thank you very much indeed for joining us this. I was going to say this fine day. It's a bit drizzly here in leafy Surrey. I don't know what it's like where you are. Morning, welcome back, pal. We've missed you. Thank you very much indeed, Peter. You were in my thoughts while I was chowing down on some damn fine pasta while I was there. I have to say, some of the food we ate. And oddly enough, we went to a very, very, very classy restaurant right up at the very top of the Bergamo Old Town. But we also popped into I wouldn't say an average, but it wasn't particularly exciting restaurant for lunch on on Friday. Man alive, the food there, unbelievable stuff. I had the tagliatelle funghi, mushroom with pasta. If you're in that, if you understand Italian, one of the nicest things I've ever eaten. If you get a chance, you really should. Lots of people entering our competition today. And morning, John Finley, says Gary Muirhead. There is the link to my Out of Time article, which is over on our Demolition Insider our website. Free to subscribe, at least it is for now. So if you'd like to get the first dibs, as we used to say at school, first dibs on the latest articles from Demolition Insider, just hit the subscribe button. Won't cost you a bean, does me a favour. You get the articles ahead of time. Everyone's a winner. Lots of entries. More entries and more entries and more. And there's Ken Hatcher. Ken Hatcher is probably travelling at roughly 20 miles an hour now, because that's what they do in Wales, apparently. So, Gary Muirhead's question of the day was that. What was your favourite TV show as a child? I've already said, I still love, to this day, I still love Tom and Jerry. The old ones, not the updated ones, but the old ones. If anybody knows the song "Is You Is" or "Is You Ain't My Baby," you'll know the age of Tom and Jerry's that I like. Loved Scooby-Doo as a kid, and then I was probably 13, 14. Tis was on a Saturday morning with Chris Tarrant and the gorgeous Sally James. I don't suppose she's quite so hot these days, but yeah, Sally James in skin-tight jeans and thigh-high boots. Even as a 14-year-old, I knew there was something going on there. Very nice too. Peter McKenna says, at the hospital waiting to see the anaesthesiologist for my op on Friday. I think there's more news on that in just a second. There's Leslie McGeechy saying, morning lads. I don't know if we've got any lasses, but good morning to them as well. I just finished early for 2. Broke my breaker pin. Yep, not sure what's going on there. Peter McKenna says, shit happens. Yes, it does. Doesn't it happen a lot here, though? Here in the UK. Sorry. I'm reluctant to leave Italy at times, and this weekend was particularly bad. We got up on Saturday morning, had breakfast, went for a bit of a stroll, grabbed ourselves a sarnie, and then it was time to say goodbye, and I really didn't want to. I obviously wanted to get home to the wife, the kids, the dogs and everything else, get back to the show. But if somebody had said, what the hell, stay for another couple of days, I would have torn their arm off. Gary Muirhead, who originated our question of the day today, has got his own. Rainbow, I think I'm probably a little bit, I remember Rainbow, but it seemed, even when I was a kid, it seemed a bit childish. Maybe I'm a bit too old for it. But Bagpuss, what a phenomenal show that was. Absolutely brilliant. Now let me think. I'm testing my my memory here. It was Emily was the girl that owned Bagpuss, if you remember rightly. There was a carved wooden bookend in the shape of a woodpecker. Professor Yaffle. See, it's all up there. I think there was a Gabriel the Toad, and I think the lead mouse. If you haven't seen Bagpuss, it probably sounds like I'm on drugs right now. But there was a marvelous mechanical mouse organ, and I think the lead mouse was called Charlie Mouse. Anybody else remember that, or have I just had a blow to the head? I'd love to hear from you. Peter McKenna says he's old for his age. You see, Red Dwarf, Knight Rider, Airwolf, and Fraggle Rock. Yeah, Fraggle Rock. That was that not an offshoot of the Muppet Show? The Muppet Show was also fantastic. One of those shows, a bit like The Simpsons is now, works on multiple levels. I remember I used to laugh at the Muppet Show, and then my dad would laugh at completely different bits, stuff that I probably didn't get at the time. I probably understand them a whole lot better now. Peter McKenna, who I'm not going to do all of these, but he's come up with some dates as well. In 1925, London's first red buses with roofed-in upper decks went into service. But they had been in use in Widnes in Cheshire since 1909. So they've been open topped up until that point, had they? Did not know that. John Finley, there's another stormer of a TV show, Top Cat. Remember Top Cat very well indeed. Ed Butler, you see, Ed is a mere child among men here. He says, Transformers way after my time. Graham Footy Williams, Windy Miller, Hector's House, Wooden Tops, Chives, got to be the goodies by gum. Icky Thump, yeah, I remember the goodies. Yeah, absolutely. Hector's House, I'm a naughty old Hector. Do you remember that? See, it does sound like I'm having issues, but I promise you these were all good TV shows. Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. Thank you very much indeed for that, Andy. Good to have you with us. Now, Ed Butler. Oh, excuse the snort there. I don't know what happened there. That was one wet day at Kinshofer. I don't know how close you were paying attention, but if you had seen Adam Haycock's trousers, he and I both made the mistake of wearing beige chinos for that day. And because I was stood there filming with my son Fred, the back of my trousers went a khaki colour because I got soaked at the back, and Adam got soaked at the side. So if you get a chance to watch the film back, you'll actually see that he has two-tone trousers on. It wasn't a fashion statement. It was purely because it was chucking it down. And as I've just said, we did bump into Ed Butler on that day. And just to prove that, you know, I'm a big southern softie and the plant operators are way tougher, I was bunched up with a T-shirt and a jumper and a big coat and a hard hat, and I was cold and I was wet. And there's Ed Butler, who got a chance to operate that Takuchi machine that you saw with the TRO45 on it. And what was he wearing? He was wearing a T-shirt, braving the elements, not in the least bit bothered. They breed them tough down in Wales. You need to get out and stretch your legs. I have to say, I did enjoy stretching my legs. There was a discussion between myself and Peter Haddock more than a year ago now, where we were talking about what would become of the Breakfast show in the post-COVID era. And I remember him suggesting, and me kind of agreeing, that maybe the Breakfast show should go down to 4 or possibly even 3 days a week, basically to allow me to go out and spend more time with people and getting additional content and stuff. But I'm not sure that's even a possibility now. I mean, I try to limit the amount of time that I go out because obviously I want to bring this show. The show is gaining in popularity with each episode. So it feels like I've created a bit of a monster, and a monster that needs to be fed. So yeah, it's going nowhere anytime soon. Nowhere anytime soon. Leslie McGeechy, I think he was talking about the Knox TRO45. I think he liked it, and he says it's hot. Andy Darvell also says hot, looks great. Glenn Johnston, hot. Ken Hatcher, hot. I think that makes it unanimous. Peter McKenna says looks like a cracking machine. Yeah, its compactness is its key. An excellent product and well designed. Yeah, that lack of rams and the fact that it will fit in a very narrow trench, got to be a bonus, isn't it? Got to be a bonus. Gary Muirhead says 1,500 to 3,000 hours reseal isn't very good on the Knox. Anybody's got any comments on that? I'm not gonna say a word because that's not the sort of thing that I normally deal with. I would, however, point out the logo that adorns Gary Muirhead's profile. So maybe he's coming at it from a steel wrist point of view. But it's an interesting point. It is an interesting point. As I say, from an operational point of view, I thought the TRO45 was very, very good indeed. But if that reseal is not particularly good, or those resale durations not particularly good, please let us know. I'd love to hear from you. Graham Footy Williams says, I can't read German, I can't read whatever you put on the screen. I listen, Graham, and I know you've won the prize today. I do spend quite a bit of time thinking about how we might better serve you and other people with I guess accessibility issues. You know, the very fact that it's spoken, you know, if your eyesight is impaired in any way, you might not be able to get the videos and stuff like that in quite the same depth, and I guess reading what's on the screen is going to be a problem, but you can still hear what's going on. For the deaf, I guess you could watch, but without actually hearing what's going on. But there are certain things that are just, unless anybody's got any bright ideas, they are just beyond my capability to make it life any better for anyone. Have you seen the videos of the old shovels they used in foundries abroad? This looks a better solution. That's going back to the to that Liebherr slag hammering machine. Yeah, I have. In actual fact, I do remember going to see. I know I was in the Netherlands. I think it was a Cat 953, the old track shovel, being used to move slag as well. And you could literally, we stayed there until, we were there in the winter actually. I can't remember exactly why we were there in the winter. And it got to about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was dark out, and you could actually see the bucket of the 953 glowing in the dark. Leslie says, now that's a hot job. You're damn right, it's a hot job. Now, Chris Ford has got a long one here, and I think we've got all of it, I'm not sure. Question day, going to show my age. When BBC 2 first started transmitting, there were only 2 channels before then. They had test transmissions, one being a girl holding a ball, and every so often a short film. One being the building of the Kariba Dam, and the other about CJB building a pipeline over the Atlas Mountains. There were others that didn't have diggers in them. I used to sit for hours just to see them. Isn't that funny? I remember the girl holding the ball. Didn't she have noughts and crosses on a blackboard behind her? I seem to remember that was a thing, but I don't remember the short films. And I'm of that age, but I do remember. Again, those that grew up watching Transformers will not believe a word I'm about to say. But the TV used to go off. And there were periods of the day literally during the day, where there was nothing on. There was just a test card, and it just sat there until the TV shows started again. If I remember rightly, they used to start around about 3:30 in the afternoon with children's TV, Blue Peter and Jack and Ori and all of those kind of things. And then come the evening, they used to play the national anthem, and then the TV broadcast would stop. And I remember very, very distinctly the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind, the Steven Spielberg movie from the late 1970s. And there's a bit in there where the kids involved are that there's aliens and UFOs and all the thing, but the kids have the TV on, and it's on at night, and into the early hours of the morning. I remember thinking, wow, that must be the most amazing thing. The fact that they could get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, put the TV on, and there'd be something there. We didn't have that. Yes, test cards. Question of the day. Ken Hatcher says, Blue Peter. Now, Blue Peter. I always thought Blue Peter was a bit straight. A bit BBC. Personally, I was a Magpie person. I was over on ITV watching Magpie because the presenters wore flares and were hip and groovy. I realise those two things don't actually make any sense anymore. They wore flares and were hip and groovy, but back in the 70s, hip and groovy people wore flares. I was among them. Andy Darvell, there's his entry, didn't win. Chris Ford entered, didn't win either. Peter McKenna says, I was later when there was only 3 channels and I was the remote control when I was old enough. Rediffusion TV switch was in the corner at the back of the living room. It was good tech for its time. Do you remember that? Rediffusion. Do you remember when we all used to rent our TVs? Certainly my parents did, and my grandparents did. You didn't own a TV, you rented a TV. Radio rentals and rediffusion and people like that. Anybody else? There is Graham Footy Williams potentially leaving, saying I've got to go and do other stuff. Just as well, I've probably got his address somewhere because he was our winner today. There's Peter McKenna waving an emotional goodbye to Graham Williams. Don't get too emotional, Peter. He'll be back at some point, I'm sure. There's Mark Whiting, who joined us late on, but good to have him here nonetheless. Ed Butler says, nice looking Bobcat. Yeah, I think this says more about me than it says about anybody else, but there was a time when I wouldn't say dismissed, but I didn't take Bobcat mini excavators particularly seriously. In my head, Bobcat made skid steer loaders and they messed about a bit with mini excavators. And I'm going back Jesus, 25 years ago. But recently, because I've got to spend a bit of time with Bobcat, I've seen some on site, I've seen some at their facility in the Czech Republic, but also out in action as well. They really do make an absolute corker of a mini excavator. If I was spending my own money right now on a mini excavator, it would probably be a toss-up between Bobcat and Kubota. Just saying. Please let me know if I'm barking. And I did say there was going to be more news on Peter McKenna's operation. Just been told they've cancelled my operation. The hospital I was due to attend doesn't have critical care support if I needed it. Hurdle after hurdle. Peter, we will do our best to keep you cheered until you get a replacement date. Tim Minnie joined us as well. Morning, Tim, from over at M&M Demolition. How do you do the blue and the red hearts? How do you do that on LinkedIn? Not seen that before. John Finley is there as well. Not sure what that emoji is, but thank you very much indeed. Well, assuming it's a pleasant one. So look, yeah, lots of people liking the Bobcat. Looks a nice machine. Totally agree. Tom Whiting joined us. Well, morning, Tom, over on YouTube. Entered but didn't win. But we've got other stuff coming up. Don't worry. Just as a very quick reminder, it is still sat here, I promise. I've got a bag of goodies here. Let me turn it around. A bag of goodies here from my trip to Wacker-Neuson. Hats, sweatshirts, other stuff. We will be putting that up for grabs on a Wednesday evening in the not too distant future. Keep a lookout for that because that'll be a good one. Looks like a nice mount. We'll go back to the Bobcat game. I can fancy a shift on one of those to see how well they dig. I'm not an expert, but when I've been playing with them, they dig pretty damn well. Now, Chris Ford has actually spotted a JCB 3CX hydrogen digger road testing the other day. Obviously, Chris Ford is up in sort of Derby, so he's on, well, he's in JCB land effectively, so no great surprise, but good to see that it's actually getting tested. I realise that he's probably changed roles about 57 times since then, but you might recall we played you a film of Grant Shapps, MP, at least for now. Grant Shapps MP urging JCB to launch their hydrogen machines in 2024. If they're road testing them, it looks like they're getting close. Keep an eye out. Lots of people saying nice things about Georgina from JCB, and great way to see the world in comfort and at the right speed. Yeah, about 35 kilometres an hour, plodding along. You own the road because you've got a bloody great bucket on the front. Happy days. And as Andy Develon says, you find yourself faced with any stop the oil protesters glued to the road, well, you have a bucket with which to gently prise them from their position. I'm not advocating that, but the option's there. Good morning, Mark, says Mick Norton. Morning, Mick. Ken Hatcher has gone back to work. There you are. Tom Whiting says good morning. Good to have a chat with Georgina at the weekend. Callum McIntosh, always welcome in these here parts. And obviously the star, or one of the stars of the JCB video there in the police livery. Sounds like the original idea came from Callum and his team. Great idea. As somebody that's been a vocal advocate for trying to prevent plant theft and trying to work with the police to prevent plant theft and to aid in the recovery of stolen plant, I've been doing that for more than 30 years. So great to see that as an idea. Hope it takes off. Hope it stops a few more thefts. Leslie McGeeky says, game changer for storing wind turbine blades dockside. You're damn right. If it's Siemens backed, Combilift have a quality product. Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly how long the two were in discussion, but it sounds like it really has come as a result of a joint venture, so that the Siemens Gamesa are getting exactly what they need, and obviously they have called upon the expertise. And I'm going to stop very quickly just to say about Combilift. Obviously, they operate in a very different market sector. They're in lift trucks and that kind of thing, which is a bit alien to me. And as a result of it being a bit alien to me, I didn't realise quite how big and well established they were. I mean, they're only 25 years old, but so much about their factory, about their work ethos, about the quality control of their product and everything else. It really did and does feel a lot like a slightly smaller JCB. They're very proud of their sort of Irish heritage, but I got to spend a bit of time with the founder there, and he knows all his staff by first name. Everybody was incredibly welcoming. There's some real serious innovation going on there, and they are doing some really, really smart stuff. As I say, go and have a look at the electric earth moving equipment website. The link is in the chat. I think we'll come to that in a second. Have a look, because I do actually talk about some of that. Let's have a look. Well done, Footy, says Leslie McGeehee. Well done, Graham, says Gary Muirhead. Well done, Footy Williams, says Andy Dalvell. John Finley says, well done, mate. Yeah, lots and lots of people saying exactly the same thing. Yes, the UK has been ranked 13th best place to live in the world, one behind the Seychelles. By who? By who? Honestly, I hope it comes across. It pains me to say this, but seriously, I mean, we went to Milan Linate Airport. Not particularly big, but the food there was good, decent price. We got on our plane on time. Passport control was a piece of cake. It's all very nice. We got back to the UK. Half of the passport control automatic machines were down. Those that weren't down didn't seem to work very well. There were people effing and jeffing all over the place in the airport. Chaos reigned. We got an Uber back from the airport, road cones as far as the eye could see. And then you get back to reports of bloody schoolgirls being stabbed on buses on the way to school. I don't know. I'm sure I'm not the first person to say it, but we used to be called Great Britain. Doesn't feel that great at the moment, does it? Mick Saunders says, morning Mark and morning all. Mick, you'll be pleased to know, having got back from Italy and having got your address, that is your prize going in the post to you about 20 minutes, I would guess. So you should be receiving that in the next day or two. As I chew on my cheese cob, all you do is talk about food. Never has a cheese cob been so unappetizing. Yeah. It's we had some very good food. I took some advice on our first night in Bergamo. We had dinner with Stefano Panseri, who I consider to be a really good friend. Known him for 25 odd years. He is the CEO of Death Bay, one of the world's foremost demolition contractors, and a lovely guy for that matter. But he took us to this restaurant, and very nice it was too. And he advised me, there is a form of ravioli that apparently is a Bergamo speciality. Obviously, when in Rome, so I ate what the locals ate. And it was fantastic. I mean, absolutely top drawer. But then his arrived, and he had like a tagliatelle, but with a load of seafood, including baby octopus. If he had looked away for long enough, I would have eaten it from under his nose. It looked awesome. Absolutely awesome. Yeah, we had some very, very good food. Mick Saunders says, question of the day. Favourite TV show, Four Feather Falls? I have honestly never, ever heard of that. I'm going to go and look it up after the show. Mick Norton, I've always enjoyed returning to the UK after lengthy stints overseas, notwithstanding the doom and gloom that we all face on a daily basis. I'm convinced that the grass is not always greener elsewhere. I'm sure that's true. I'm sure that's absolutely true. And I'm sure, we did actually walk past an estate agent, and you can pick up a very nice 2-bed apartment in the heart of Bergamo for about 190,000 euros. So what's that? 140, 150 grand, which is a bloody good value. Could I overcome the language barrier? I do keep meaning to try and get some basic understanding of Italian, but that would be a problem. Would I miss cups of tea? Probably. Would I miss my pie and mash? Yes. Would I miss going to West Ham? Yes. but I'm fairly sure the grass would be quite green. I really am. I'm back, not a happy man. That's 2 cancellations due to incompetent people. See, you have my best wishes, Peter, as you will know. So here's another thing, right? We landed at Gatwick Airport, and the EasyJet pilot came on and very proudly announced that we were 10 minutes ahead of schedule. Now, bearing in mind we left about 5 minutes late, I thought that was quite an achievement because it's only about an hour and 40-minute flight. He said we were 10 minutes early, but you'll have to bear with us because we're waiting for the steps to arrive down from the plane, and it took 10 minutes for those steps to arrive. Now, I realise that EasyJet only pays for its parking in loose change because it's somewhere on the outskirts of Brighton rather than actually part of Gatwick Airport. But bearing in mind we have air traffic control that controls planes down to the fractions of a second to ensure safety. Why is it that our arrival meant the arrival of 350 plus people? Why is it that came as a surprise to the ground staff at the airport? Surely they knew that we were there, or that we were due to arrive. Question of the day: Dixon of Dock Green. Evening all. Yep, I'm not sure I'd say that was a children's TV program. Hot. Has it been stolen? Not yet. I've got accessibility issues. I can't access my operation. Your time will come, I'm sure. Let's have a look. There is somebody on Facebook who has decided to do a bit of swearing. They can do one. Let's have a look. Yeah, Magpie. That was an awesome program. The weird thing is, I remember Magpie, but I don't remember the names of the presenters. And yeah, I remember Peter Purvis and Val Singleton and John Noakes and people like that from Blue Peter, which suggests I must have watched it. Mick Saunders, yes. You forgot the white dot when they switched off transmitting. There wasn't just a white dot. You used to get a white dot in the middle of your screen, and the noise and everything else. And then ultimately it would go off completely. But we had an old valve style TV. So even after 5-10 minutes of that noise and that white dot, you turn the TV off and the screen would just shrink to nothing. But forever. It took forever. Question of the day. Jim Turner says Kickstart, Paul Hogan Show, Street Wolf, remember that. The A-Team, The Fall Guy, Litless Hobo, Gentle Ben. Don't remember Gentle Ben. Remember The Fall Guy? The Fall Guy, I think, was Lee Majors, who was the $6 Million Man, which was also a good show. But the A-Team, loved the A-Team. Well, I wasn't really a kid. I was at work when the A-Team was on, if I remember rightly. Mate mine has been hiring out exclusively Bobcat machinery for over 25 years. He now has over 60 machines for hire. The very fact that he's been doing it for 25 years suggests that they are pretty good, right? And though the noise that accompanied it to make sure you switch off the TV off. How many times have I watched a late film only to wake up to that noise? Yeah, you and me both back in the day. Do you remember I'm fairly sure it was like a Friday night, because I'm fairly sure I did it after the pub back when I used to frequent such establishments. You'd get home at sort of 11:30 at night, turn on the TV, and you were guaranteed to find an old black and white horror movie. You know, Wolfman or Frankenstein or Dracula or The Mummy or something like that. Whatever happened to them? I'd sit there and watch them for bloody hours now. Did he have a different manufacturer before swapping to Bobcat? If so, who? Yes, who? We need to know. Don't forget, if you're watching Demolition News on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe, ring that little bell for all new updates, and slam that like button. What he said. I think you've been actually watching some YouTube videos, because that's exactly in the ones that I watch. They don't slam the like button; they smash it. You smash the like button. But yeah, please feel free. We could do with a few more. We are. I would say we were rapidly approaching the 100,000 mark. We're not. We're kind of stalled. We've hit 97,500. and we're just not getting any further. Could do with a real influx, I think. Question of the day. I remember as a 9-year-old, my headmaster declaring to the school assembly that he was building his own television in order to watch this forthcoming coronation of the late Her Majesty the Queen in 1953. Building his own television. Wow. He was a plant op before then, Jim. Bought his own machine and liked it so much that he went and bought another. That's how he started in the hire business. Fair play to him, and fair play to him, exactly what Jim has just said. Peter McKenna, not changed. School kids got stabbed when I was at school in the 80s. The IRA were bombing Manchester. Everywhere had their problems. I seriously don't think today is any worse than yesterday. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it is just me getting older and getting more miserable. And maybe I've just had too much exposure to the good life. And I say the good life, that's one of the things that really bugs me, or bugs me about the UK at the moment. I tend to watch quite a lot of tech YouTube for things like the light that I've got above my camera there, and I think it was about $150. So it should have been about £110, £115, but no, it was £150. They don't bother converting anymore because we always pay over the odds. I was eating sandwiches only for a light snack. Eating sandwiches in Italy, which were of a quality that you would not match here in the UK. They were costing me about €3. A meal deal from a WH Smith now is about somewhere between 8 and 10 quid, and it's rubbish. Just unnecessary expense. And as I say, it's probably just me getting old and miserable. It was in the early 60s. Marshall Tex Tucker and Co. Fastest gun on the end of a bit of string. Gentle Ben. Gentle Ben was the most famous bear in America at the time. Gentle Ben was a bear. No idea of that at all. And there's me being happy having 18 YouTube subscribers. Yeah, well, if you remember rightly, back a few months ago, we had a bit of a head-to-head race of myself and my son Fred, who was going to get to 100,000 first, and I was absolutely on a roll, and it looked like I was going to overtake him. Well, he's at 100 and 110. I got to 97 and kind of hit a ceiling, and I've just been bumping against it ever since. We need a banger. That's what we need. Could do with the lads on YouTube to give the show a shout out? Peter Haddock, Steve Williamson, etc. We do big up each other, but again, I think one of the issues, and I realise we operate in the same global sphere, but what I do is different to what Peter Haddock does. It's different to what Steve Williamson does. It's different to what Nick Drew does. It's different to what Amy Underwood, the Digger Girl, does. It's different to what Awesome Earth Movers do. We've all got our own little pockets. Now, I know from the past when we used to have Peter Haddock as a guest on the show on a regular basis, he and I do have a crossover. Myself and Nick Drew have a bit of a crossover. I'm fairly sure me and Steve Williamson would have a crossover, and we'd have a crossover with the Digger Girl as well. But by and large, those that like the live experience tend to come here. Those that like Peter's presenting style, complete with his trademark enthusiasm, they tend to go to him. Those that like Nick, and who doesn't, those that like Nick tend to gravitate towards him. So there is a crossover, but in terms of Venn diagram, there's not a huge crossover. So even if Nick were to actually record a video specifically asking people to go and follow me, I don't suppose too many would make the jump at all. I may get him to try. The meal deals don't really work nowadays. No, they don't. Jim, I think I've got 5. 5. What have you got? What have you got? Oh, there we are. Our YouTube subscribers. Yeah, listen. In absolute truth, and I'd love to have 100,000 because you do get a plaque. I'd like to have one of my own rather than borrowing that one there from my son. I'd love to have 100,000 subscribers. But it's just a vanity metric. It doesn't really mean anything, to be perfectly honest with you. I think Mick Saunders is just about to leave us. Let's get back to there. Mick Saunders, right. For all the old army blokes, SSS time. Me and the dog going for a liquid lunch. Have a good day, one and all. Stay safe. Catch you on another day. Please look out for your post because, as I say, by about 11:30, your prize, your Kent Demolition prize, will be on its way. And there is Peter McKenna confirming that he was talking about his subscribers. I'm sure you may only have 5, but I'm sure there are really good 5. I only have a few drone videos on there, nothing really worth watching. But that's the difference, isn't it? You know, I do this crap for a living. You've got a proper job, basically. So you wouldn't expect to have great gobs of videos. Right, people, I knew it was going to be a longer show than usual because we did have a bonus video, but we are now at an hour and a quarter, which is more than enough for anyone's time. Hands on socks. Hands on socks, hands off other things. It's Chris Ford. Yes. I mean, I'd like to think your hands were off those anyway while we were on doing this show. Can't imagine why they would be on, to be honest. Right, people, go and have a fantastic day. I will be back here tomorrow. As it stands at the moment, I've got a free week. I'm going to be here every day this week. And we are working towards that evening show with the fine folks at Wackeneusen to bring you a whole bunch of videos and a massive giveaway as well. So keep an eye out for that. Till then, everybody go and have a fantastic day. I'm going to go and look up Graham's postal address so that I can get his prize out to him forthwith as well. But until then, everybody have a fantastic day. And as Peter McKenna very rightly says, bye all. Peter, I'm echoing that. Bye all. Have a good day. See you tomorrow.